Hi, my name is Joey Robledo, and this is my final self-evaluation for the Children's Lit class this semester. And as you can see, I'll be looking down because I wrote notes on what I've learned throughout the semester. And the first thing I learned that really stood out to me was that children's books, reading them can be fun, actually. Um, I, I'm 24 years old, and I can never get enough of children's books. Just something about them. Um, I really like reading about, especially, since I'm going to be a teacher, I want to know what my students are reading so that way I can better understand the book and when we discuss it, so I can be a guide to the children as well. And that searching for books, because we had to search for books in this class, like with the 100 books reading record, searching for books can also be fun. And if someone hasn't searched for a book or used like the library system, that's something new that they have learned. It's a new skill for when they need to look for books or help their students look for books. And another important thing was that the difference between authors and illustrators. I always knew there was, the basic definition: author writes the book, the illustrator draws the pictures. But I didn't realize how much both of them have an equal part in the success of a children's book. If the illustrations are bad, I've seen in like various versions, editions of the books, that there's been several illustrators to the same author of the book. So it just goes to show that um, the audience has a preference in their illustrations. And another interesting thing that I personally found for myself were the the authors and the illustrators, that some have like a little partnership with someone. Like for example, with chapter books, Roald Dahl. It seems like the person that always illustrated his works were Quentin Blake. Likewise for John Siska, it was always Lane Smith who was doing the illustrations. But an interesting thing that I found was that when I was reading one of my books, James and the Giant Peach, I thought the illustrations looked familiar. I couldn't put, um, it was like on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't see who did it. But then as I saw the illustrator, it said Lane Smith, and I was like, Lane Smith, I know who that is. And I was like, oh, that's the person that always drew for John Siska and like the Three Little Pigs and the Stinky Cheese Man and other various books. And it just surprised me how two people I knew that always had a partnership, like they switched it up with one. So I thought that was pretty cool. And something, the question, my version of a children's lit course, what would that be? Would be pretty much along the same guidelines. I definitely would for sure have book, a blog, a book browsing blog, because that helped me a lot in finding books that I needed to read for my own reading record. And it also gave me an idea of what other books my classmates were reading that I was missing personally. And some of the books I read that the other students offered and talked about were pretty good, and I never would have found those without that blog. And the reading record, I thought was a bit much, a lot of work. But of course, if you can't learn without work, I personally would maybe lower the reading record to like, I don't know, 50, 75, right around there, depending on the kids' needs, on the class needs. Also, with that book browsing blog and the reading record, both of them opened. Well, I branched out with the genres. Like for example, I really don't like fantasy. I just can't connect. My mind is more in a reality state. Like this is it. There's no such thing as dragons or flying monkeys or something. And so I don't know. Reading the 10 different fantasy books was pretty interesting. I liked some of them. And a little fun thing that I noticed too was that for some reason all the books that I found that like were my favorites out of the 100 books reading record were all books including grizzly bears. Like a grizzly bear was the main character. For some reason those books were just so hilarious. Like the books about Bruce, Mother Bruce, Bruce's Big Move, and there was another book called Griswold. He's trying to find his home because people took his forest. And there was another book, The Bear and the Fly, and that's just, I don't know, it's just, I thought it was pretty hilarious how those books were my favorite and they all included grizzly bears. But I would introduce these books, like a teacher's recommendation. Like, these books are my favorite, so you guys can get to pick and choose for yourself if you would like to read them. And if they do or don't, well, it's their personal preference. Everyone has what they like and what they don't like. It's understandable. But at the end of this course, I feel like I accomplished a lot with learning more about children's literature. That's the point of the class, and I feel like this class has helped me uh, grow more, grow a love that's stronger for children's literature than it was before. And that is something I definitely will take and teach my future students and have some of those books in my class that I enjoyed so they can enjoy those books too. And that's what I learned in this course. Thank you.